although I'm getting rid of my D3S, I still would like to take some of the money, a small amount of the money, and see if I could get a good camera deal. One of the things I personally enjoy is I really like finding these budget cameras or these older cameras, or even a camera that's typically not a budget camera or isn't particularly old, but you find a really good deal on it. Like, to me, that's part of the fun process of cameras, is kind of seeing what you can end up with and trying different things and weighing pros and cons and stuff like that. Now, the money from selling the D3S, that will go towards, bills and this and that and everything else. But the money from selling just the 2485, I'm gonna see if I can replace this camera, this entire big expensive camera, with another interchangeable lens camera for the price of the cheapest lens that I had for this thing. So I started searching online like crazy, and there's a guy selling an EM10 here locally for, it's like 90 bucks, 85 or 90 bucks when you convert it to US dollars. So it's less than 100 bucks. Because it's an EM10 and into Mark 1, nobody really wants it and you can't really sell the thing. So he just bottomed out the price, and I didn't haggle or anything. I said, yeah, I'll come out and take it off your hands for sure. Be very happy to do that, So I came into the city last minute, grabbed that EM10. Let me come to this stoplight right here. It's a silver camera. I hate silver cameras. I only like black cameras, but it's cheap. It has IBIS, 16 megapixel sensor that I love, and it's less than 100 bucks. So I can't wait to get like the 12 to 32 or the 17 millimeter or something like that. One of those cool little lenses for this thing that are pretty compact, and start shooting video with that. Let's see if I can get this straightened out here. I totally forgot. I had taken my big umbrella that's always in the back of my SUV. I took it out so I could transfer it over to the other car for a single trip that we made, and I forgot to put it back in my SUV. So I had to run through the rain, and luckily I was able to basically stay under canopies. But even those split seconds where I had to go from one canopy to another, and there was a little narrow path of rain coming down, got me pretty wet. But I tell you, one of the strange things about people in Taiwan is that Taiwanese people haggling with each other on price is a very Taiwanese thing. It's culturally, people here love to haggle. However, what I have discovered is that they don't typically respond well to foreigners trying to haggle with them. Now, they actually don't mind giving you a good price on something, or there's a nice gesture, right? But if a foreigner, who they view as an outsider, right? They assume you're probably here for holiday or something, for vacation. If you walk up to a local person who lives here every day, and this is how they make their living and make their money, and they see you as very likely a tourist who's here to specifically just to spend money and have a holiday, if you walk up to a local and you trying to haggle with them, they will very firmly put their foot down and be like, nope. Sometimes they might, in sort of in a smart-ass sort of way, they'll offer to give you a $1 discount, right? But at the same token, I've noticed that anytime I walk into any place, whether it's at the local market or an actual nice high-end camera shop, doesn't matter. If I walk in, and I never once mention the price, I walk in, I see what I like, I ask to see it, I look it over, then I ask, oh, how much is this? They tell me, I say, okay, I'll take it. Every single time, without fail, every single time, 100% success rate. If they just tell me the price and I say, okay, I'll take it, then they'll walk me over to the register and they'll start doing the paperwork, and then before I give them the money, they'll say, actually, just give me this. And they'll give me a discount. They appreciate the fact that I was being very polite, very nice, that I'm not wasting their time, and that I was okay just giving them the money. Prime example, I came to this shop just so that I could buy this lens, this 14mm f2.5. I just asked him, what's the price? And if you convert the currency, it's $65 out of the camera shop, right? So I just said, all right, I'll take it. He walks me over, starts doing the paperwork, store warranty, and then before I give him the money, he says, just give me 50. So it was already a cheap lens at 65 bucks. Now I have it for 50 bucks. Hold on, let me do the official, approved by YouTube switch over. This camera is at 24mm equivalent. This should be at a 28 equivalent. We'll see. Gonna switch over right now. All right, now recording with the Olympus EM10. Now the whole reason why I got this camera, other than the fact that it's so cheap, is that I loved the image quality out of my EM5 Mark II. I very specifically remember loving how video looked. Despite the fact that it's only 1080, I think the most pleasing straight out of camera colors I've ever seen of any camera of any brand, and there's been a lot, is from Olympus. I loved the color science of my EM5 Mark II. I remember that was the very first camera I ever purchased brand new from a camera shop. Typically I buy everything used because it's the exact same thing, but you spend less money on it. But I couldn't find one used. They were very popular cameras, and when I did find one used, it was basically the price of a new one, so I thought, nope, for the first time in my life, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna buy a brand new camera. I was kind of hesitant. I wasn't sure about this whole Olympus thing, this whole Micro Four Thirds thing. I was worried spending brand new camera money on something that might have inferior results because of a Micro Four Thirds sensor. And I got it and I ended up loving it. What I very quickly learned was that Olympus was, at least at that time for a long time, my favorite camera company. The build quality, the image quality, the way the video files looked, everything about it was just amazing. I cannot speak highly enough of that camera. Even to this day, if I find a good deal on a used one that's in good shape, I'm absolutely going to buy it. That was a phenomenal camera. I never should have gotten rid of mine, honestly. But, you know, I was so sure that the EM5 Mark III was going to come out any day. We still don't have one. So I was thinking of actually just buying another EM5 Mark II, but that blows my budget. I sold my 24 to 85 lens for $150 US. So way blows the budget. And I started looking around and thinking about maybe a Canon EOS M Mark I, because those are less than $100, and maybe a 22mm, you know, M lens, and all these different little ideas and balancing different things. And then I thought about just sticking with this, but I've realized that everything I said that's great about this Samsung camera is, but for me personally, this is primarily a great video camera. I actually really like using this thing for my YouTube videos. It's really light on the battery. It doesn't use hardly any battery at all with the videos. It's got that articulating screen. It locks focus and actually tracks it in video pretty well, considering it's all just automatic. Like when I put something up in front of the camera, it typically does a pretty good job with no input from me at all at just finding that new thing in front of the camera and locking focus. And then when I drop it back down out of the way and I keep talking, it finds me again. So I like using this Samsung for video, typically. Again, the Samsung has its place, taking it to the market, using it for the street, putting it in the pocket, phenomenal. There's a reason why I kept this camera. For the money, it's very hard to beat. But this is an Olympus EM10 Mark I. I never cared about this camera. I never wanted it. I don't like any of the Olympus EM10s, honestly. To me, if you want a budget way into Olympus, get a used something or other. You know, a EPL series used are next to no money at all, and they're pretty good. And if you don't mind spending some money, then get an EM5 Mark II or Mark III when it comes out, or get an EM1 Mark II. Phenomenal camera. And if you really got wipe your ass money and you are dedicated to Olympus, get an EM1X. But it occurred to me that with this camera here, it has the exact same 16 megapixel sensor as my EM5 Mark II had. This does not have the fully articulating screen of my EM5 Mark II. It doesn't have the nice, large, big viewfinder. Just a normal little one. It doesn't have the same button layout, or the same ergonomics, or the same weather sealing. It doesn't have the same high-res mode. It doesn't have all those extra bells and whistles, but it is still a well-built Olympus camera. It still has the same Olympus color science, the same beautiful Olympus video, the same, you know, Olympus magic, if you want to say it that way, and that same 16 megapixel sensor that I grew to love so much. So to me, if I could get this cheap enough, it'd be a great camera because it's cheap. $90 for this camera, and it came with 2 batteries and a few other little things. Then I thought, what's a good quality lens? It's better quality, it gives me better results than the kit lens, because I don't care what anyone says. I personally, although I don't always mind kit lenses, I really dislike the 14 to 42s. Not me. I do not like or want a 14 to 42 at any price ever. So I thought maybe the 12 to 32, I had one of those before, it was all right. Used to use it for vlogging and stuff. I've thought about a few different lenses. The 12 to 50, I had that was pretty good. A little too big considering I only use the wide end. Then I came across this deal. It's the 14mm f2.5 from Panasonic. The guy was real nice, as you heard in the video. He immediately gave me a discount, so when it was all said and done, I paid $50 for it. So $90 for the camera, $50 for the lens. That puts me at $140. That means I sold a cheap 24 to 85 lens that was on my D3S, the cheapest lens I had for it, for only $150 US. And for that same $150, I was able to buy an Olympus camera that has the same 16 megapixel sensor that I love and uses the same lenses that I love. And I was able to buy a cool little 14mm f2.5 lens to put on it, and I still had $10 left over to go out. And actually what I did with the $10, it's not a hypothetical. What I did was I took my son to the convenience store and bought some chips and drinks and stuff, and we hung out at the house and started watching cartoons and eating chips together. So I was able to buy a camera, a lens, and snacks for an afternoon with my son, all for the price of a 24 to 85. So although the camera that this sensor is wrapped in is not particularly exciting, it does still have image stabilization. It does have a tilting screen. It does have a touch screen. It does have a couple little knobs and dials that feel pretty clicky. It has a built-in flash. Came with an extra battery. It has that 16 megapixel sensor that I do love so much. And there are so many like secondhand awesome lenses you can get for this camera for cheap. This is what I'm going to start packing with me, and this is what I'm going to start carrying. Actually, I'm not going to leave the video there. So real quickly, let me turn the camera around here and show you some of my favorite photos that I took with my Olympus. Obviously, this is just a few. It's what I happened to upload. Check this out. I learned a lot about myself and a lot about my photography from that Olympus camera. Not just what I like and don't like and what features I actually use and which ones don't really matter to me. But I also learned that if a lens is too much longer than 100mm, like if it's over 135 millimeters focal length in full frame equivalent, then in most scenarios it's just too long. I can only think of like a handful of times ever in my life where I needed a really long lens, and even then it wouldn't have resulted in a good photo. It would have resulted in an okay photo that I thought was kind of cool, and I wouldn't be able to use it. For the photography I like to do, I like a short portrait lens, like around an 85 or so. So that Olympus 45 millimeters is a 90 equivalent. That thing was perfect for that. I also realized that it's not just for portraits though. I even did a lot of street photography with that 45 millimeter lens. And unless I needed to do I specifically needed a super wide angle for something close up indoors or whatever, I basically found that 45 millimeter focal length was just kind of the way I naturally saw things, like the way I viewed scenes and the way I kind of focused in on stuff and the way I composed shot in my head of what I was trying to capture basically was like hand in hand perfect with what that 45 millimeter showed me. So that lens I ended up loving. I use it all the time. But if I ever needed anything wider, then the only lens I would use that I actually enjoyed using and never thought twice about was the 9 to 18 millimeter, which is a 18 to 36 equivalent for Olympus. I almost always had it at 9 millimeters or 18 millimeter full frame equivalent. And I would even use it for portraits and stuff like that. But that for me was not just great for like interior stuff, but what I found was I really like doing environmental portraits, you know, where you take a photo of somebody relatively close up, but you can still like see this huge expanse of wherever they're, the crazy cool place they're at all around them, right? I learned that I don't need to have a bag full of lenses. If I have a wide angle and a short portrait lens, I'm happy. Anyway, I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to the challenge of trying to adjust to this EM10 Mark I, a camera that I never wanted to own, but now I do. And it has that sensor that I love inside of it. So hopefully I can recreate some of that same old magic that I was able to make with my old Olympus EM5 Mark II. We'll see. Keep an eye on my Instagram. Keep looking at my next videos. If you use Flickr, maybe check my Flickr from time to time, and you'll probably see what kind of stuff I can come up with being back with Olympus. I'm actually very excited. Again, the camera itself doesn't excite me so much as this name across the top and that sensor that's in here excites me. That's what it is. This part right here, where it says EM10, I don't care about that. That's what I care about. That right there and that right there. That's what I care about. So, anyway, things looking up. I'm excited. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.